Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we take the sources you send us, stack them high, and pull out the most essential insights.
And today we have a really interesting one.
We do. We're taking on a huge challenge today, trying to strip away all the philosophy, all the mystery, all the, the spiritual baggage around meditation.
That's right. This deep dive is, well, it's purely about the hardware. We're looking at meditation not as some kind of abstract practice, but as a specific, measurable, and really a repeatable physical and neurological state.
A state you can induce.
Exactly.
So our mission here is to understand the physics, the biological plumbing behind it all, based on some highly scientific hypotheses in the sources you sent. And the central claim, the foundation for this whole discussion, it's truly revolutionary.
It really is. The source basically posits that the biological nature of meditation is a third state of being. They call it awake sleep.
Awake sleep.
Yeah. It's a state where your mind stays completely conscious, completely alert, but your body is intentionally triggered to fall into this deep protective rest.
And the key thing, which the source makes really clear, is that this happens through a biological mechanism, right? Not just mental toughness or sheer willpower.
That's the critical distinction. It's not about trying harder.
That changes everything. So, okay, let's break this down. We need to unpack the mechanics, look at the exact process for achieving this awake sleep.
Right, and then how that physical state immediately affects our emotional landscape.
Yes, and what actually qualifies as practice, and then, the really big stuff. Implications for our health and maybe even our lifespan.
Let's start by just mapping out this idea of awake sleep. To really get it, you have to see where it sits compared to, our other normal states of consciousness.
And the authors have a really helpful way of looking at this, like a kind of chart.
Coordinate system, yeah.
Yeah.
A simple 2x2 grid with mind on one axis and body on the other. It shows you the 4 possible human states.
Okay, so you have quadrant I, bottom right. That's mind awake, body awake.
That's your normal waking state. Driving, working, listening to this deep dive right now.
Got it. Then bottom left, quadrant third.
Mind asleep, body asleep. It's just normal, deep sleep. Simple enough.
And then there's quadrant 2, the top left. And this, according to the sources, is the biological definition of meditation.
Mind awake, body asleep. That's the target state.
That's the gold standard.
Right. And what's really interesting is that quadrant 2 is also where accidental sleep paralysis happens.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, then there's argued that the only real difference between sleep paralysis and deep meditation is intent and control.
So sleep paralysis is a glitch. Your mind wakes up, but your body is still in that lockdown sleep state.
It's a malfunction, exactly. But meditation training, the goal of it is to let you intentionally move from that normal waking state, quadrant 1.
Directly into quadrant 2, the mind awake, body asleep state.
And then back out again, at will. It's all about gaining control over that biological mechanism.
Okay, but here's where I have to push back a bit. Because if the body is being tricked into sleep just by being still, why don't I just fall asleep every time I sit perfectly still for 20 minutes?
That's a great question.
It feels like there has to be more to it than just zero movement. It sounds, almost impossible to keep the mind awake while the body just powers down.
And that gets to the heart of the hypothesis. We tend to think of sleep as something the conscious brain decides to do, but the authors suggest the body has these built-in biological motion sensors.
Like in a smartwatch or your phone?
Very similar, yeah. They function like accelerometers. So when you maintain absolute stillness for a long enough period, and we can talk about what long enough means in a bit,
Okay.
these internal sensors report 0 change in movement. That signal bypasses your conscious brain entirely, and it tells your unconscious brain to start its protective sleep sequence.
And that includes what?
Skeletal muscle paralysis, a gradual shutdown of sensory and motor nerves. You're basically signaling to your lower brain, hey, it's safe. You can power down now.
Wow. That actually makes sense of those, the weird physical sensations people report when they meditate. The limbs feeling heavy or stiff or even numb.
Yes. All those strange feelings are just the physical symptoms of normal sleep, the paralysis, the sensory shutdown. But you're experiencing them consciously because your mind is still fully online.
And that buzzing feeling people talk about, that full body vibration.
That's the final stage. It indicates the deepest relaxation, the complete release of muscle tension as the nervous system just settles.
So if the body is the absolute key here, then the connection to our emotions has to be, instantaneous.
It is.
The material makes a really bold claim here. It says anxiety isn't primarily generated in the brain. It's caused by physical stress in the body.
That you can't have an anxious mind in a truly relaxed body.
Which is a huge idea.
It's crucial. And the sources, they draw on the work of people like Dr. Elizabeth A. Stanley, who talks about our two main brains.
The thinking brain and the survival brain.
Exactly. You have the thinking brain, the neocortex for logic and decisions, and then you have the survival brain, the limbic system, brainstem, which is all about immediate threat assessment, basic survival.
And that survival brain is always running in the background, scanning for threats.
It is. It uses something called neuroception.
Yeah.
It's your unconscious system constantly scanning for danger cues, way before your conscious brain even knows something's up.
Can you give us a quick, a relatable example of that?
Sure. Think about walking into a room. It looks totally normal, totally quiet, but you immediately get that feeling, that prickle of unease.
The sense that something's just wrong.
Right, even though you can't explain it. That's your survival brain doing a threat assessment.
Yeah.
And if it detects danger real or even just perceived, it instantly hits the panic button.
The sympathetic nervous system. Fight or flight.
Which means the physical changes start immediately. Heart rate spikes, stress hormones flood your system, muscles get tight.
And those physical changes are what cause the emotion.
Precisely. The elevated heart rate, the hormone rush your thinking brain just interprets that physical state and slaps a label on it, like panic or anxiety.
So our normal day-to-day life is basically what the book calls the effort world.
The effort world, yes.
Where our conscious brain is constantly trying to manage or override these ancient automated survival systems. It's like trying to force yourself to fall asleep.
And it's exhausting. Meditation, then, is about the complete surrender of that conscious effort. It's about transitioning into the effortless world, which is run by the unconscious brain.
Which, when you leave it alone, is actually much better at regulating things and restoring balance.
Far superior.
Okay, so that brings us to the practical side of things. If the whole goal is to surrender conscious control, what's the fastest, most effective way to do that?
Well, the source material is very, very clear on this. The ultimate method is simply doing nothing, just maintaining profound stillness.
Doing nothing.
Yeah. Any conscious effort to control your breath or your thoughts or your focus, it immediately pulls you back into that effort world and breaks the state.
So it's that idea of non-action, that meditation is maybe the only thing you get better at by not trying.
Exactly. It's about creating the right conditions for the body to relax enough to flip that biological switch.
So the conscious mind's only job is to, what? Just watch.
Just to witness, not to intervene. That's why so many traditions use what the book calls convenient methods. Observing the breath, noticing sounds, feeling sensations.
But those aren't the goal.
Not at all. They're just tools to give the conscious brain something to do, to keep it passively occupied so it doesn't try to take over.
I see. So the classic beginner's mistake, trying to observe the breath, is that they jump in and try to control the breath.
And that just causes chaos because you've re-engaged the effort world. The right way is to just be a bystander and trust your unconscious system to handle it.
This leads to that idea of reverse causality that the source talks about.
Yes.
The things people think are the goals of meditation, like emptying the mind or regulating the breath, they're actually the automatic results of deep stillness.
They're effects, not causes. A massive distinction.
Especially when it comes to thoughts. Because trying to still your thinking is, well, it's impossible.
It is. The harder you try, the more thoughts you create. But as your body sinks into that deeper stillness, the part of your brain that's responsible for all that chatter just naturally quiets down.
You're talking about the default mode network, the DMN.
Right, our internal chatterbox, the part that replays arguments or worries about the future.
Daydreaming, planning, all that self-talk.
All of it. When the body is in this deep, safe, awake sleep state, the DMN activity just diminishes on its own. Thoughtlessness isn't an achievement you force. It's a byproduct of total physiological relaxation.
For someone just starting out, though, this whole process can feel just impossible. Do the sources give any kind of practical benchmark? Like, when can a beginner expect to get there?
They do, and it's a really grounding, quantitative answer. They call it the 1,000 hours rule.
1,000 hours.
That's the approximate time investment needed to consistently achieve that initial phase of full body relaxation. It's not linear, of course, but it gives you a target.
That number. It feels big, but it also feels achievable. And it lines up with some traditional methods we've heard of.
It really does. It's very close to the 3 years of consistent Zhanzhuang, which is basically standing post-meditation.
Training stillness.
Right. or those intensive 100 days of foundation building retreats. If you do the math, that comes out to about 1,200 hours. Knowing it's time-bound can help people push through those early, frustrating stages.
Okay, let's circle back to the core rule. If stillness is the absolute key, how does that square with practices like walking meditation? You're clearly moving.
This is one of the most brilliant insights in the sources. It brings in pure Newtonian physics.
Physics?
Yeah. Remember those internal motion sensors we talked about?
The accelerometers.
They are specifically accelerometers. They measure the change in velocity, not velocity itself.
Huh. So to an accelerometer, sitting perfectly still and moving at a constant speed in a straight line are the same thing.
Functionally identical. Newton's first law, right? An object in uniform motion stays in uniform motion. In both cases, acceleration is zero.
So as long as your speed is constant, your body's sensors are tricked into registering total rest.
That's the aha moment.
And that must be why slow, continuous movements like in Tai Chi or Qigong also work.
Yes, as long as the movements are fluid and seamless enough that the acceleration is minimal, the unconscious brain is still fooled into thinking everything is safe and still, so it triggers the awake-sleep sequence.
So the key isn't literal stillness. It's zero acceleration.
Exactly.
Now, if we connect that mechanism to the bigger picture, the sources bring in their boldest hypothesis yet.
The really big one.
That deep, prolonged meditation allows the body to enter a genuine hibernation-like state.
And this goes way beyond just deep rest or normal sleep. Hibernation involves an extreme lowering of vital signs, heart rate, metabolism, body temp, far below anything that happens in regular sleep.
We see that in animals, like the fat-tailed dwarf lemur hibernating for months. But in humans, it sounds like science fiction.
Well, the authors point to extreme human survival cases. The famous one is Anna Bogenholm, the skier who survived after her body temperature dropped to 57 degrees Fahrenheit. The hypothesis is that by continuing this profound, non-accelerated stillness, we can actually activate long-dormant hibernation genes, pushing our metabolic rate toward those extreme lows.
So it provides a scientific framework for all those legends of meditating monks entering states that seem like suspended animation.
It turns a mystical experience into a biological process. In fact, the source material suggests the title should have been The Science of Meditation, because all of these claims are testable hypotheses.
And that connects directly to the scientific framing they use, right? Citing Karl Popper's idea of falsifiability.
Yes, which is so important. For our listeners, that just means a theory isn't scientific because you can prove it's true, but because you can, in principle, prove it's false.
Classic white swan example.
The white swan. So the hypotheses here that meditation is awake sleep and that zero acceleration achieves it are scientific because they could be proven wrong.
If, say, deep meditation was only achievable during high-impact aerobics.
Exactly. Or if EEG studies showed brain patterns totally unrelated to known sleep states, it's falsifiable, and that's what makes it science.
And we actually have modern research that seems to support this. The sources mention EEG studies showing that meditation reduces the amount of delta brainwaves you need in your next night's sleep.
It's like a daytime nap for your deep sleep system. It suggests meditation is fulfilling some of that same restorative function. If you get enough of that deep rest during the day through meditation,
your body doesn't need as much deep sleep at night.
The research strongly suggests that consistent deep meditation actually decreases your overall need for sleep, which is a huge potential time saver for your life.
Which brings us, finally, to the ultimate promised benefit of all this: unconditional happiness.
And this is presented not as something you strive for, but as our innate default state. The sources argue this unconditional joy is always there, but we lose access to it as sleep quality and duration decline with age and stress.
So by using deep meditation to reclaim that restorative state,
and to regulate neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, the body just naturally regains access to this pure, effortless contentment.
So stability comes first, then happiness follows. Not the other way around. The material links this to a kind of ultimate freedom, quoting the Heart Sutra. With no attachment to hold on to, there is nothing to fear.
When your well-being isn't tied to the outcomes of the effort world, you become fundamentally unshakable. It's a self-generated state of peace that is independent of what's happening around you.
It's the highest payoff.
It is.
This has been an incredibly rigorous deep dive. So to recap this revolutionary definition, meditation is the state of mind awake, body asleep. It's achieved through either extreme stillness or zero acceleration motion, and it leads to real, demonstrable, neurological and physiological transformation.
Making it a powerful tool for wellness and emotional stability. And here's the final, maybe most profound thought to leave you with, which comes from the deepest implication of all this. If deep stillness allows the body to enter a controlled, hibernation-like state, a state that's right on the threshold of death, then deep meditation is, in essence, practicing dying.
Practicing death to become free of the fear of it.
Exactly. By familiarizing yourself with this controlled state of near death, this nirvana, you work to eliminate that ultimate existential fear. And as philosophers have said forever, conquering the fear of death is what allows you to achieve true vitality and freedom in life.
The ultimate paradox. It's what Mark Twain was getting at when he said, the fear of death follows from the fear of life. A man who lives fully is prepared to die at any time. Something to think about as you consider maybe starting your own 1,000-hour journey.